A discourse analysis is based on the details of speech and gaze and gesture and action that are arguably deemed relevant in the context where the speech was used and that are relevant to the arguments the analyst is attempting to make. A discourse analysis is not based on all the physical features present, not even all those that might, in some conceivable context, be meaningful or might be meaningful in analyses with different purposes. Any speech data can be transcribed in more or less detailed ways such that we get a continuum of possible transcripts, ranging from very detailed, what linguists call narrow transcripts, to much less detailed, what linguists call broad ones. While it is certainly wise to begin one's analysis by transcribing for more detail than may in the end be relevant, ultimately it is the purposes of the analyst that determine how narrow or broad the transcript must be. In this book, I will use broad transcripts. Much more detail could be offered for each transcript, but these details would end up being trees that obscure the forest, and it is the forest we are after in this book. I use a good deal of data in this book. Data have to come from someplace. Much, but not all of the data come from my own work, which deals with social, institutional, and educational issues. I believe that discourse analysts ought to pick their questions and data because something important bears on the answers they reach. In any case, listeners will have their own interests, and the data here is for initial practice. Listeners should also apply all the tools I introduce to data and issues they have selected and which interest them. Not all listeners will be equally familiar with the data I use. Though much of the data are from the United States, in most cases the data are not even typical of everywhere in the United States and may be more or less foreign even to people in the United States. As you will learn later in this book, when we talk about making what we take for granted strange and new, this is in many ways a good thing. At the same time, listeners should always think about how the data used in this book could be supplemented by related data from their own area, culture, or country, where things may work differently. Listeners then could compare and contrast how things work in different cases. Indeed, this would make a good assignment throughout the book. My approach to discourse analysis is a type of applied discourse analysis, or applied linguistics. What does this mean? For me, it means this. In any area of empirical inquiry, there are a great many questions to ask, topics to study, and many different types of data to collect. Since there are so many choices here, why not choose questions, topics, and data that bear on issues and problems important to people, society, and the world, rather than ones of less import?